Welcome back to the 12th Man, our big preview of the big games on the weekend, and we also look at our fantasy football teams. There's still time to join our Sky Sports Fantasy Football League. The pin is on screen now. There's a chance to win £5,000 every single week and a Premier League team shirt of your choice if you finish as the most points in the Football Daily League each week. But first, let's start with the previews. Pato, what is the big game on Saturday?
There's a game so big on Saturday that I've set a reminder on my phone to watch it.
That's big.
It's the 12:45 kickoff, I believe, and it is Manchester City versus Liverpool. Now, historically, this has been a bit of a stormer in recent years, particularly since the 2013-14 season when they went head-to-head for the title. And no one really knows what's going to happen with Pep's attack. Like, the first couple of games of the season, played this 3-5-2 with Aguero and Gabriel Jesus up front. That was fun. Then he kind of went to 4-3-3 the other day against Bournemouth. He had Sterling, Sané, I think. No, Sterling, Jesus, and Bernardo Silva. Have to specify the Silva now.
Yeah, you do. Bernardo and David.
Well, I think of Bernardo Silva as Bernardo Bronze at the moment, because he's nowhere near David Silva quality.
Especially that new haircut David Silva's rocking.
Thug life. Finally, he's getting credit for all the dirty fouls he's given over the years. Now, he's shaved his head. People know he's an absolute bastard. But I don't really know. I think it's going to be... If I were Pep, I think I'd want to get those wide players on. We've seen Sané deployed as a left wing back at points this season, though Sterling's got a couple of goals in the first few games. And if I were looking at Liverpool, I'd say, you know what? People complain about their centre-backs, but their full-backs are a lot weaker. Klein's out, so it might be TAA, Trent Alexander-Arnold, or it might be Oxlade-Chamberlain, moved to Liverpool to play central midfield. Good luck, Alex. But Joe Gomez played left-back against Arsenal. Fortunately, Arsenal are rubbish at football, but... I don't know. I think if he comes up against Sané, then he's going to get toasted. I think he'll get eaten alive. And that's where Pep wants them to do their business, right? He wants them to come in from the side and then look for passes in those half spaces.
Yes, well, the Reds are in frightening form, aren't they, at the moment, especially after dismantling the Gooners 4-0. How did that feel, big man, before I move on? Oh, yeah. I mean, especially with that front three, I think they could give anyone in world football a run for their money at the moment. Let's take a look at their stats. Firmino. 3 games, 3 goals, 3 assists in the league. Mane, 3 goals, 0 assists. Salah, 3 goals, 1 assist. And for me, the linchpin in that side is Firmino. He makes the whole team tick. And I think at current, he's probably the best false number 9 in world football.
Big claim.
He pulls defenders out. He can drift out wide. He brings other people into play. I just think he is fantastic, and he's really stepped up at the start of this season. And we've not even discussed the likes of Daniel Sturridge. He can come on as an impact sub, can't he? He scored within 3 minutes of coming on the other week. So formidable options to come in from the bench, which is what Liverpool have lacked in seasons gone by, haven't they? That strength in depth. There's the possible return of Felipe Coutinho. After he came on versus Ecuador, scored that goal, obviously. His back didn't look... didn't look too bad after his linking up with Gabriel Jesus to score a sumptuous goal. But the doctor actually said his back injury was mental, and not in that sense, as in up here. Mental. He's absolutely fine again now. I think if he's fit, if he's ready, if he's available, he's got to start in a game of this magnitude. Emre Can, Wijnaldum, Jordan Henderson, absolutely fine players, good all-round skill sets, but they can't unpick a defence, can they? I don't think either of them can play that killer pass.
Oh, I think it's harsh. I think
Jordan Henderson, decent diagonal long ball. Emre Can, box-to-box midfielder. Wijnaldum, he gives him that energy. He arrives late in the box. He grabs the occasional goal, doesn't he? But Joseph, Jurgen Klopp, normally a happy man when playing the top 6. Do you think that's going to be at the same time this time round? Sorry.
Well, an extremely happy man. His record against the top 6 is quite frankly absurd. He's played 19 since taking over at Liverpool, won 9, drawn 9, lost once, and that's to Louis van Gaal's Manchester United.
What a game of football that was,
yeah. But I'm not too sure. I think Wijnaldum has to start this game. His record against the big teams is phenomenal.
Really?
7 goal involvements in his last 10 games. Scored, of course, against Manchester City in their last Premier League fixture. He has to play in this game. I can't see Klopp dropping such an important big game player for such a big fixture. I think there's other issues for Liverpool as well. You mentioned Sterling and Sané playing out wide. I think that Liverpool's fullbacks might be really hurt by Man City's fullbacks. This could be the first time we see Mendy and Kyle Walker start on the same pitch, and I'm excited about it. Mendy is a phenomenal talent. We saw him, what he could do, devastating down that wing for Monaco last season in the Champions League. And Walker, I think, could really push the likes of Joe Gomez a long way back, which is going to cause mayhem with the amount of space it's going to create on the edge of the box for Firmino.
And although Marino is defensively suspect, he's actually started the season incredibly well. Yeah. So let's see how he fares against one of the big boys. But is he the chink in their armour?
Yeah, I don't know. I think there's also issues. Where does Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain start? Apparently he's been promised this central midfield role, and I just don't see where he fits in there.
This game. I don't think
you think he's benched for this game?
He was excellent against Man City in the FA Cup last season. I think that it's possible that he comes on late in the game as it starts to get stretched because he can dribble. I think he's averaging more dribbles per game than anybody in the Premier League so far this season. Over 6 per 90. So he's a great guy to come on late in the match, but at the beginning, they're going to need to keep the ball a bit. They're going to need to keep it a little bit tight, and for that, I would rather have a solid midfield than the Ox.
Yeah, I think he'll start with the tried and tested midfield trio of Wijnaldum, Henderson and Chan. I think Coutinho on the bench for this game. I think Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain not quite ready. Doesn't understand the system that Klopp's trying to put forward. He's obviously been training with England this week. But more importantly, we want to know what you think the score is going to be in this game. Live, of course, on Sky Sports Premier League, Saturday, 12:15. I'm buzzing for it. Vote in the poll over Pato's head right now.
Next on the agenda is Everton versus Tottenham, and the big issue in this game is, will Wayne Rooney start after he was caught and apprehended and given a bit of a smack bottom for drink driving? Quickly, boys, your thoughts. Would you play him?
Yes. And then I'll send him to prison.
Yes, I would also play Wayne Rooney in this game.
Well, I wonder if Koeman will. Will he send out a message that no player is bigger than the club and that they have to behave? But if he does drop him, he has adequate cover in that position, doesn't he? There's a lot of players vying for that number 10 role now in the Everton team, almost like he overspent in one position.
Almost like it.
Almost like.
So Gylfi Sigurdsson being the first candidate, he got 13 goals and 9 assists last season from that number 10 role for Swansea. Davy Klaassen used to play a little bit further back, didn't even play at attacking midfield for Ajax last season. He got 9 goals. 13 assists, and I don't know how he includes him in that team with Wayne Rooney and Sigurdsson.
Yeah, not got a clue.
Davy Klaassen, he's not going to go back, is he, with Schneiderlin and Idrissa Gueye there? Not going to happen. Those two, I think, are pretty dead on to start. But the writing looks to be on the wall for the Toffees. They have a terrible record against Tottenham in recent years. They haven't beaten them in 9 games, and that stretches back to 2013.
4 years.
I think who was at the helm then? AVB, maybe?
Yeah, AVB.
Sandro, he needs to start firing on all cylinders, doesn't he, for Koeman's men? He's yet to score in the Premier League. He doesn't want that tag as a flop to start haunting him in the early exchanges of this season. He got 14 goals in 30 games for, is it Malaga last season? I think he was the highest scoring under 21 Spanish player in the league. So comes with a lot of promise, but he's yet to deliver. What do you boys think? I know you want to talk about Sergio Aurier. That transfer just recently happened and you're quite excited about it, aren't you?
I do. Is he going to make his debut in this game? I probably think he won't. I don't think he's quite fit enough yet.
He might come on.
He might well come on. He obviously didn't go on PSG's pre-season tour, so his fitness levels might be a bit suspect. Also, does Pochettino want to uproot Kieran Trippier? Trippier's actually started the season in okay form, not fantastic. I think when they're both fit, Aurier has to start. I think Aurier is a superior player, although the stats suggest they are quite different. Aurier, statistically, better going backwards, 3.1 tackles and interceptions per 90, Trippier 2.8. So slightly better going backwards, but Trippier, surprisingly for me, is better statistically going forward. Obviously, they both had really limited minutes last season. I think Trippier averaged around, had about 600 minutes, which is a tiny, tiny number, and Aurier about 1,800. So quite a small sample size, but Aurier, statistically, since he started in Ligue 1 in 2012, 2013, he's had the most assists of any defender in that league. But Trippier last season was creating more chances than him. So it's whether Pochettino wants that out-and-out attack of Trippier or the more defensive solidity of Aurier.
I think Trippier might have the advantage there, though, that he's been playing in a 3-5-2, so he's been
more of a wing-back.
Whereas there's that 4-3-3 that has been in place at PSG for a while, so you might require less from your fullback.
So when they're both fit, who would you start?
Oh, well, Sergio Aurier has like an incredibly high ceiling.
Yeah, I agree.
I think we all agree. Like I think that Barcelona could have gone for him this summer. He'd have fitted then.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just about his attitude. And Pochettino needs players that are quite disciplined.
That price is probably a reflection of his personality, isn't it, and all that entails. But
100%.
as you said, I think the average position for Pochettino's fullbacks last season was the same as their central midfield.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Which is crazy. Whereas Sergio Aurier probably had to contribute less in terms of getting up and down that flank because PSG's forward 6 players were doing the business last season.
Yeah, 100%. But Tottenham Hotspur, at least they aren't playing at Wembley. That is a big bonus, Pato.
Well, yeah, playing at Wembley has been a bit rough for them, particularly because every time they play at Wembley, everybody comes up saying the Wembley curse.
The Wembley curse.
But to be fair, they've already dropped 5 points at Wembley so far this season. They only dropped 4 at White Hart Lane in the whole of last campaign.
True.
So that does not really bode well for their fortunes at the National Stadium this season. I think. Look, Harry Kane, he scored a couple of goals for England over the international break, and regardless, look, I don't think that
that's the real curse, mate.
I don't think that this thing about him scoring in August has any weight
I
whatsoever.
really wanted him to score just so Joe shuts the...
It's true.
You know he's currently taking 6 shots from inside the box a game, Harry Kane.
Yeah, and how many of those are going in August? None of them.
Hit the woodwork 3
because
times,
of the record, the hoodoo.
All right, conspiracy, but take off your tinfoil hat. Anyway, he's got 9 in 11 over the course of his career in September, 0 in 11 in August. So even if he believes that something weird is going on, then who knows? Maybe he's screwing himself up somehow. But I think that he'll probably get off the mark relatively soon. I mean, the real question for me is whether Fernando Llorente is going to be important in this game. I think that Everton are going to try and do what Chelsea did.
Yeah.
You already talked about Schneiderlin and Idrissa Gueye, and I think they're going to park those guys in the midfield and try and muddy up the game, not let Spurs play the way they want to. If that's the case, then Spurs might well think, well, you know what, we're actually great from set pieces, so we're going to try some long balls, we're going to try some crosses.
Big team as well, big units.
And that's where Fernando Llorente is useful.
So you'd have him off the bench. Would you bring him on in this game, or would you start him? You'd surely have him on the bench.
It depends what the score is, but I'd bring him off the bench.
So what you're saying is he's the champagne Ricky Lambert when Liverpool bought him to be their plan B 3 or 4 seasons ago.
He's the handsome Ricky Lambert.
Incredible eyes.
He has got incredible, dreamy eyes. But
he's got
swim in them.
A Michael McCubbin Barnett.
So he's Tottenham's Fellaini. Are you saying he's Tottenham's Fellaini?
I think he's a better footballer than Fellaini, but in the same way that Fellaini is very useful in given circumstances, I don't see why not. They've got a different weapon now. And that's what we've been saying about Spurs for the last 2 seasons. Every year we say they're not deep enough, they don't have different options. Now they do.
I think that's an interesting point about Everton as well, because they muddied the game, as you said, against Manchester City, didn't they? Despite having a superior man. So they had one man up on Manchester City, didn't they?
Yes.
There are a lot of players in that team who like to play in the middle third. But yeah, score predictions?
I think that Tottenham win this game 2-1. What do you think?
Interesting.
1-0 Tottenham.
Ooh.
I'm going to go 3-1.
3-1 Tottenham or 3-1 Everton?
3-1 Tottenham.
3-1 Tottenham. But what do you guys at home think? Let us know your score predictions in the comments below. The final game we're looking at is, of course, Monday Night Football. West Ham versus Huddersfield. 2 sides that I think it's fair to say have started the season in very different form. West Ham are a complete and utter mess right now. 4-0 against Man United, but even worse, 3-0 against Newcastle. That is a shocking
United result, forgivable. Newcastle, just inept.
Shocking. Slaven Bilic has apparently already held crisis talks, only 3 games in, with the board. And the board effectively chucked him under the bus already. Come out publicly to say that he turned down the chance to sign Krajkoviak, turned down the chance to sign Renato Sanchez, so when it all goes wrong, they can at least blame the manager. Conceded 10 goals in their opening 3 games, scored just 2, and the last time they lost the opening 3 games was in 2010-11 when they finished rock bottom of the Premier League and got relegated. Their new signings are an absolute mess, Pato.
Ominous.
It started so bad.
Well, with the exception of Javier Hernandez. Javier Hernandez is the only member of the West Ham squad to have scored so far, which is just as well. He's shown that he can carry on doing what he's always done, which is find scoring chances in the box. On the other hand, Marko Arnautovic does not seem to know how to do that. No. And bear in mind, this is a 28-year-old who, between transfer fees and wages, West Ham are dropping about 65 million quid.
That's so bad.
65 million pounds. And he's given them absolutely nothing. Now he's banned, he's obviously not going to be playing for a while.
Yeah.
Though there's a part of me that thinks they might benefit from that, because I had a look at some of the highlights from that Newcastle game. And quite often they're in this kind of weird like 4-2-4 shape.
Oh, God.
And there's a midfield where it looks like they've had 3 guys sent off because there were just no players for them to pass.
Christian Atsu was running riot.
Which is not necessarily a great sign for your defence. I mean, Joe Hart hasn't exactly been covering himself with glory at the other end either. In his last 22 league appearances, that's between the Premier League and Serie A, 0 clean sheets.
Jeez.
In his last 6 appearances, conceded 20 goals.
That's so bad.
That's more than 3 a game.
I mean, terrible, but Torino and West Ham, extremely porous sides.
But some of their saving chances, man.
And you look at both those sides and you're like, okay, but they're not relegation sides necessarily. They should still be mid-table. Look, does he have a good defence in front of him? No. Should he be able to stop a shot that's coming directly at him? I'd say overall, yes.
The goal he conceded for England against Slovakia was a shambles.
Frankly, West Ham can learn some lessons from Huddersfield.
#shambles.
They need to pay attention to Huddersfield because Huddersfield seems to have their defence on lock at the moment.
Oh yeah. Conversely, lads, Huddersfield are having a great time of it at the moment, aren't they? 3 wins out of 3. David Wagner with his sexy see-through glasses must be thinking, what is the big deal? In fact, they're only the 2nd promoted side to keep 3 clean Premier League sheets in their opening 3 games. That is some achievement for them.
Ridiculous.
Especially traditionally not the best defensive side. The last time they kept 3 clean sheets in the opening 3 games of a season was 1965-66.
60 years ago.
The year of John Babb's birth.
Yes.
But yes, they're on 7 points now after 3 games and lucky not to be on 9. Absolutely peppered Southampton. They had 16 shots versus the Saints. And the likes of Mounier, he looks threatening, a big physical presence. Quite an instinctive finisher too, so I'm excited to see what he finishes the season on. I think anything past 10 would be a really big achievement. Aaron Moy, he's the epicentre of that Huddersfield side. He's got 1 goal and 1 assist so far. Yeah, only because he's absolutely raking the points in for me on Fantasy Premier. He's a bargain. I think he's still cheap. You guys should definitely include him. But yeah, David Wagner claims he is going for a win in every game this season. The ball's on the guy.
That's gonna come back to bite.
So yeah, hopefully they don't end up like Ian Holloway's Blackpool, who tried it and failed emphatically, didn't they? But what do you guys think? Will Huddersfield survive? Let us know in the comments below.
Now we move on to our fantasy football segment. Of course, like I said, you can still join our Sky Sports Fantasy League. £5,000 to be won each week, and we will be giving away a Premier League shirt of your choice to the highest amount of points per week. Overhaul is also ready, by the way. It means you can make an unlimited amount of transfers to your team before the weekend. I would recommend it. My team's shot to bits. I will definitely be using that. We're also going to have some questions.
Wholesale changes needed.
A few questions. The first one comes from Adam Jones on Twitter, actually, who says, who will perform better for my team, Alexis Sanchez or Coutinho upon their return? Hashtag Sky Sports FF. Ooh, Pato, who would you go for?
I would probably go for Sanchez.
Really?
He's got a better.
His head's gone.
He's got a better injury record than Coutinho, and also it's a World Cup year. So regardless of whether he wants to be playing for Arsenal or not, he has to. He needs to make sure that he's fit, that he's firing on all cylinders going into next summer's World Cup. Plus, he's going to play further forward as well. Last season, he was involved in 34 goals, whereas Coutinho was involved in 20. That's because Coutinho sat out for a long time. Obviously, though, Coutinho is going to have more runners in front of him with Salah there as well. So who knows, maybe his numbers will go up. But for me, I'd probably just about go for Sanchez. The injury issue tips it.
Hamster?
Well, the whole World Cup issue, I think, applies a lot more to Coutinho, doesn't it? Because Sanchez is going to walk into
Sanchez is a nailed on
into that Chile side.
He can miss all year and walk into that Chile
I mean, he's picked, as you said, 2 guys who don't necessarily want to be at their club at the moment. If you're going to go Arsenal, why not go Lacazette? And if you're going to go Liverpool, why not go Firmino, Salah, or Mane?
It's an interesting one.
I'd definitely go for Mane. But if I had to opt for one of the 2, yeah, Alexis Sanchez, as you said, especially with Jurgen Klopp seeing Coutinho's future lying deeper in midfield.
Yeah, I agree. 100% go for Alexis Sanchez. He's a forward on the game as well. Get him in, he's going to get you more points than Coutinho. That's what it comes down to. More points, more prizes, like the football shirts. What a segue.
Next question comes from OZ Jamal, and he's asked, lads, who will be the best player to get the most out of the bonus points? Now, what he means here is those sort of players who are going to get you points for tackles and passes. You actually get 2 points for every 3 tackles completed and every 60 passes completed. So if you had Marco Verratti in your team,
he would be cleaning up.
He would be mopping up. But who are your picks then for the defensive midfielders, or whoever who's going to get these sort of points?
I've got a little bit of an outside shout. I've got Oriol Romeu. Oriol Romeu is world class at tackling, interception and shifting the ball on. That's pretty much all he does in his game.
I mean, I don't think it's too much of an outside shot. I think he got 150 points last season.
Yeah, he was incredible for Southampton as well last year. He averaged, I believe, 2.7 tackles and 60 passes on the nail. So if he improves a little bit more this season, you can pretty much guarantee yourself 4 points from his position, just because you know he's going to get 3 tackles and you know he's going to hit that 60 passes. It sounds simple, and he's not as expensive as most of the attacking midfielders either, so it might be worth, if you need a slightly lower level central midfielder, bringing in Oriol Romeu, although there are other players that also do the exact same job in there.
Yeah, I'd go for Idrissa Gueye personally, in that Everton, sort of those defensive midfielders, Morgan Schneiderlin and Idrissa Gueye, often deployed in that kind of 4-2-3-1, aren't they? And he's averaging 3.5 tackles and 60 passes per 90 at the moment. So, and I can only see that sort of continuing under Ronald Koeman's stewardship. Would you go for Schneiderlin, his defensive partner, or someone a bit more mainstream?
I don't think so. I think Schneiderlin's numbers suffer a little bit by sitting next to Gueye. I think Gueye is always the guy
leaping into tackles. Same way Matic did alongside Kante.
Yeah, though I think actually Matic and Granit Xhaka are good shouts for this as well this season. They're obviously completing a lot of passes at the moment, and they are required to do most of the defensive work in those teams. But N'Golo Kante is the obvious guy to go for here. They're called Kante points for a reason. This is a guy who last season his tackle numbers were actually down. I think they're about 2.5 a game. Whereas this season, they're up over 4. He's at about 4.3 tackles per 90 minutes so far this season. He leads the league. He leads the league by miles. I mean, partially that's because he's been playing next to, say, Fabregas or an unfit Bakayoko so far, but he's going to carry on doing that. He's also an underrated passing hub for Chelsea. He carries the ball forward, he delivers it to the attackers, and he completed about 60 passes a game last season, so he's going to get you those points as well.
But we want to know which player will get you the most bonus points. Who do you think? Let us know in the comments below.
Our final question comes from Productions Man, and he says, if you could select one player for under £8 million, who would it be? Now, I know we've got a defender, a midfielder, and a striker to talk about. Chris, you're going to start us off with the defender, I believe.
I have. I've plucked out for £6.5 million a man who started the season very well at his new club. It is Fugazi of West Brom fame. Fugazi. But yes, anyway, this guy is playing for a side who scored the most set-piece goals of last season. In 16-17. He's already got one at the start of this season, hasn't he?
Towering.
And Tony Pulis's outfits always win by narrow margins, or sort of their matches peter out in draws.
6 foot 5
he could get you clean sheet bonuses. He's an aerial threat. He looks to be the long-term heir to Gareth McCauley's reign of terror at West Brom.
Gareth, I think, was joint top scorer last season for West Brom.
Yeah, I think he got 8, didn't he?
Insane.
I mean, that says a lot about West Brom.
But Tony Pulis is one of the few managers who really gets the most out of set pieces, isn't he?
Yes.
I mean, they're a little bit undervalued in the Premier League. A goal is now worth £2 million, and he's getting, I think, 14 set piece goals last season, maybe wrong, 14, 15. Who's got £30 million worth of goals? Just from playing to his strengths, keeping it simple. Tony Pulis, that's what we like. Moving on to midfielders, I believe that's back to you, isn't it?
Yeah, I want to talk about a Brazilian player called Richarlison. You might not have heard of this guy, but he was signed for Watford. He's 20 years old. He was at Fluminense last season. He got 15 goals in 36, which is a pretty tidy return. That's what Benteke got in the Prem last season. Obviously not in as good a league, but he's just a kid. And he's landed in the Prem with some absolutely insane numbers. Now, he scored, I believe, on his debut, and I looked at some of his stats so far. This is a guy who's taking over 4 shots a game. He's taking 3.9 of those from inside the box. Now, there are 2 Premier League players taking more shots from inside the box than him. They're Harry Kane and Mohamed Salah. He's getting more than Rashford, than Lukaku. I mean, this is pretty elite company to be in. He's also creating 2 chances a game, pretty much identical numbers to Roberto Firmino, without anything like the attacking talent around him. So I think that he is probably going to get a handful of goals and assists this season. And as we've said, he's a midfielder, despite the fact he's going to be playing up front. So you're gaming the system if you bring in Richarlison.
That's right. Bit of professional cheating.
7.4 million, that's a steal. I have struggled to find a forward for under £8 million. I'll be honest, most of the good forwards on Sky Sports Fantasy Football tend to cost excessive amounts of money. But I found Calvert-Lewin at Everton, £7.8 million.
Like useful player.
And he's actually made a surprisingly good start to the season. I really didn't think he would feature under Koeman after he spent so much money on attackers this summer, but he has, and he started as both a wing-back and a forward. Against Manchester City, he was particularly impressive, pulling into those channels, pulling John Stones out of position, and I actually think he'll get a fair few assists purely because he does that so often. He's so fast, in fact he's really their only fast attacker. And when he pulls into those channels, he pulls a big hole for likes of Wayne Rooney, Gylfi Sigurdsson, David Klaassen to run into, and that is where Calvert-Lewin is going to be worth the money.
That's if he doesn't play fullback, right?
That is. He has, on occasion, operated as a wing-back, but we're hoping he's going to stay as a forward. As I said, though, it was nigh impossible to find someone for £8 million. So Calvert-Lewin, £7.8 million. There you go. Productions, man. So that's all the time we've got on this episode of The 12th Man. But like I said, there's still plenty of time to join our Sky Sports Fantasy Football League. And you can join the Sky Sports 6-a-side. It's a little bit different, but it does give you the chance to win £5,000 every single week. Basically, it's one game. You can pick 6 players from that one game. Cool. One of them an elite player and 5 team players. You then pick a golden goal period and you pick a first goal scorer. And if you get it all right, and you beat your mates, and you finish top of the league, you can win £5,000.
Simple enough.
Big amount of
money. Don't need
money.
friends if you got money, do you?
100%. Lads, what else should we be doing? What's happening on Euro Football Daily?
Could always head on over to EFD to watch a little bit of Stat Wars where me and Pat cross swords. There is Continental Club, and there is Football Mondial as well. So see you there.
Bye.